Alright, so we're gonna boil just 2 cups of water, but I want to find what they call, what I'm hearing it's called, the sweet spot on this Trangia stove, and it's supposed to be at some point between here and infinity. So I'm gonna see where a little can puts this pot. This is our first experiment. We'll see what we do here. Let me get this lit up, let it bloom. Pull the grate over. Let it bloom a little bit. Let's see how long that takes. We've got so I'm guessing that it's above this point here, which is what I've had it at. And I've had it flipped over, and I still think it's not quite high enough. I don't like that for potential boat use. I don't think the flame needs to be that high above it, but I'm sure that I can make do with it. So I'm going to wait for this to bloom. It hasn't bloomed yet. I guess I can leave this open so y'all can see it. But it's warming up the spirits on the inside to create a pressure. There we go. You should hear it pop. And once that pressure is reached, the stove is warm enough for it to come out of the holes and start, there you go, and start really putting out some BTUs. And there you can see it. It just bloomed. It just, there you go. There's the pop. So that's that. So that's actually, that's kind of one of those things that you enjoy seeing happen because you're a nerd who likes this stuff. So it's bloomed and it's coming through the grate and it's doing all right. When I set the pot on it in this position and it really gets warmed up, I don't think it is letting enough space between the burner. Right now I have no problem with it. All that flame is hitting it. But here before too long, what's going to happen is that the flames are going to come up the side of this kettle. They're just going to lick the side of the kettle all the way around. And, you know, I don't really... I think that's wasted energy, wasted fuel that could be better used to be actually in contact with the surface area that's going to give me the greatest bang for the buck. And I'm sure that's what everybody wants. You don't need to carry extra fuel. It's just a burden. You don't need to burn extra fuel. It's bad for everything. It's not cost efficient. It's not good for burning fossil fuels, if that's something you're concerned with. It's just, well, you know, you don't want to do it because money's not easy to come by. I don't care who you are. And you might not be living as minimal as this and trying to save every penny, but then again, you might be trying some experiments like this and seeing an alternative. Way to do your thing. So it's cranked up. We'll see what happens here in a minute. Okay, so the flames are just now, after like, I don't know, 10 minutes, starting to curl up around, just starting to curl up around the edges of this kettle. So, bearing that in mind, at this point we're starting to lose some of the efficiency of the fuel because it's going up around the edge. I'm saying just barely licking around. So, in the interest of time and boredom, you can see how high that flame is above that Trangia. right? So we're gonna set the pot right on it. Center it up real good. You see what I'm saying about stability, right? On a boat, that's just crazy dangerous. I mean, that's just absolutely ludicrous to do. So I'm gonna have to just lose some efficiency because that's absurd. But on a campsite, no big deal, right? You got some flat area, you got the fire under it, you're doing fine. So it could use some holes at the top. What are you doing? Psst. What are you doing? Because I can smell that can on fire. I don't know, folks. I think this is a bad idea. Because it's coming up around that pot like crazy. That without maybe some vent holes. That's just a terrible idea. Absolutely bad idea. So, that being said, losing it a little bit around, not having it at the optimal height, I don't think it's a big deal. You know, when you're formulating a hypothesis and you do your experiment, the objective is to mostly rule out things that don't work. I think what we just did was rule out something that doesn't work for my use. Not on a boat. I think we'll take a little loss of efficiency, add a little bit of extra weight, put the, and here's the next thing we could do. That simmer ring, we can bang on that simmer ring a little bit. And see what half open looks like on this thing. Right? That's like wide open. And that was too much. There we go. It's because I'm not a stage actor. Okay, so let's see what happens when we drop the center ring on this. Well, that quieted it right down. I mean, right now. Sorry for that, folks. But that quieted that right down. And if you're not in any hurry, you're not in any hurry on a boat. You're not in any hurry to do something like this. You know, shit. That might be just the way to go. What does that look like when it's cracked all the way open? You reckon? Let's take a... It's like just too hot to touch. Alright, well, I'm not messing with it. I don't feel like getting burned, sorry. Not worth the effort. So, we'll just leave it over that little bit of flame. Alright, so my other battery died, but just for the sake of doing, I wanted to do this again with those little air holes that I was thinking of, and it is smoking and stinking so much that I'm done with that idea entirely. We're not going to experiment with that anymore. We're not going to mess with that anymore. I'm going to let that just be cool. and not think of it again, because it is burning so hot at that point that it's burning the lining out of this this can, and it just absolutely reeks. So once again, cools down quick though. That's fairly nice. Whatever's coming up around the edge on this pot, it's fine. It's just fine. Whatever little efficiency is, definitely for me at this point with this particular alcohol stove, with this particular fuel, with this particular stove, I think it's just going to be a set it and forget it type of thing. So it's coming up to a boil, and we might make something with this water. But I've definitely decided that the idea of bringing it up any higher is a bad idea, and it's not. I don't think it's a good idea. It would give me probably a quicker boil. You can hear it. It's definitely hotter at that height. I mean, that's half the height, because we were up here, but that's half the height right there. It's not nearly as hot. It's not nearly as hot. That's crazy. So what I'll do maybe is put something in between the grill and the base. I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm gonna burn a little bit more fuel. I mean, significantly different though. That's just crazy. If you've never noticed that, never seen that before, never done that before, that's just, I mean, I can reduce it so much it came off the whistle. It was on the whistle. Right there. On the whistle, that high above the flame. Like a blowtorch. It almost came off. It came off the whistle. It lost that much heat that quickly. That's crazy. Alright, well, that's it. Signing off, folks. Thanks for watching. See how we can do this without burning the snot out of ourselves. I like to keep all the hair on my hands. Close up the simmer ring, closed position. Slide this around so nobody gets burnt. Like that. I like that you can just drop that on and it's out. It's snuffed. It's not gasoline. It's not kerosene. Of course, you don't use propane. Don't use propane if you're in my situation. You may never be. My situation may never ever be your situation, so nobody say anything ugly. But never be in my situation and have propane on your boat. If you have a leak and you don't notice it, if you are me, and that propane's heavier than air, it's going to go down, and in your boat that's made of fiberglass, it's not going to get out. It's going to stay down there, and it's going to push the lighter breathable air up, and it's going to find the lowest spots, which is your bilge. And if, God forbid, your bilge pump kicks off a little spark when it kicks on to dump the water out of your bilge, boats have blown up. So propane has never been on the table for me. I've always wanted to go to alcohol, and I can really see why, as a solo sailor, you can get yourself in a position where alcohol can be controlled. It can do what you need it to do, especially if you're just boiling water or you're using a pressure cooker. But even in my situation, as you've seen in another video where I've cooked steak and vegetables, it's doable on this platform. So I don't think I'm going to need anything else. But that's where we're at with that. Thanks again for watching. Appreciate it, folks. Just another rambling of mine.